Good day, all. Back for another podcast. This is probably our fifth podcast, and also our fourth podcast with Benji from Benji Calibres. Benji, how are you today?
Doing good, thanks. How about you, man?
That's good to hear. And what about you, Dylan?
I'm fine, guys.
That's great to hear. So, any interesting stuff happened to you all this week?
I got two corn snakes at the Reptile Expo in I think Emperor's Palace. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, no, me and Dylan was this Saturday there at the expo. But yeah, Benji, what happened? Anything happened to you?
Just been carrying on, enjoying the heat. Actually, a really interesting thing I thought I could bring up is that on our Panthrophis podcast, I was really pitching well for black rat snakes and stuff, carrying on about how placid they are and what a good species I think they'd be to get into and stuff. Well, I got me a pair of black rat snakes, so I'm now the proud owner of black rat snakes. So that's something new for me, getting to know them. Being a Texas rat keeper, it's really interesting to keep their cousin, the black rat snake. So I've really been enjoying them. They're such interesting species, really great temperaments, and looking forward to being able to produce them in future. So yeah, that's it for me. Enjoying the weather, getting ready for maybe some herping action and stuff. So yeah, just having a good time. How about you guys?
Oh, that's lovely to hear. So, of course, this wasn't really part of the layout, but I personally thought we can actually talk about the expo because I know Benji has been, every single podcast, he's been mentioning the Reptile Expo. And me and Dylan decided, you know what, we're going to go because why not? So, we were going. Dylan was a bit nervous, but then I thought, no, he'll enjoy it. He'll meet a lot of other experienced breeders and herpetologists there. So we got there, and he was shocked with all the different reptiles we saw there. Like, then what did you see over there?
Ball pythons. Actually, that's not the only stuff we saw. We saw corn snakes. We saw copperheads. We saw a lot of spiders. I'm not sure of all the spiders. We saw um Yeah, we saw plenty of snakes, and I think there was also chameleons there. And what were these big lizards again that were, yeah.
It was what's it called again? I think it's crocodile skinks. No, not crocodile skinks. Caiman lizards. We saw caiman lizards over there. We saw a beautiful boss monitor, and of course something that Benji would probably find interesting. So Damien from Damien's Exotics over there had a cave dweller rat snake. So also another beautiful one. I think it went for around 3K or so. And then a lot of other people we saw there. We saw David Schultz from Designer Pythons. We saw Cowan there, of course. That was quite kind of excited. He started talking to this other breeder. Who's it again? Dante.
Yeah, Dante from Ferreira's Exotics. He's a really great person, and I would really buy from him again.
And I did so. So what? What did you find over there?
I've found plenty of stuff to do, and it was really just an awesome experience.
It is so. But basically, what shocked me the most. So when me and Dida went into the expo, like just at the front of the expo, we saw this other bloke. He just tapped me on the shoulder, pointing his finger at me. He's like, "Are you Creed's Venoms?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Chris, nice to meet you." I'm like, "Chris, the Retic breeder." He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." Then, of course, we saw Damien there, and Miss Heidi, of course, the person who always, well, makes arrangements for the expo, etc. as well. But yeah, just a bit sad for the fact that, of course, Benji wasn't there. Well, it would have been quite interesting to get Benji and Dylan to meet each other in person as well. But yeah, what's your opinion about how the expo was? Like, did anyone talk to you about it, or
You guys talking to me?
yeah, oh, we are talking to you.
Sounds like y'all had a blast. I really wish that I could be there too. Like I said, I was on a vacation trip in the Kruger National Park, but yeah, I really, really am disappointed that I missed this expo because of the mangrove snake that they had on display there. I really, really wish that I could be there to see that. But Yeah, sounds like y'all had a great time. I'm glad that Dylan got to experience an expo where he gets to meet some people, see what the hobby is like, and to see how many people there are actually that are interested in keeping reptiles. For me, the first time I went to an expo, I couldn't believe that there was so many people out there that's also interested in keeping reptiles. So going to something like that, really coming home, you really enjoy keeping in it, and it makes it more fun for you knowing that there are so many people doing it. So yeah, no, but sounds like y'all had a great time, and hopefully, probably not this next expo as I'm really busy, but the next year's expo in May month, I should be there, and then hopefully we can organize to meet up and stuff. So then I can get catch up on everything that's been going on at the expos and stuff. So yeah, but anyways,
Yeah, please, man, just try to make arrangement for December's expo. I might not even be here still in South Africa as I'm going to China next year. So we should definitely try to make arrangements. But yeah, going into well today's topic. So Benji, you can start with us.
yes, alrighty. So I also thought it'd be cool to just do like a brief introduction again as to, you know, who we are and stuff, and like how we got into the hobby. So I think you mentioned that you wanted us to get a little bit more in depth into that whole thing. So I'll let you guys start.
All right, no worries. So for today's introduction, of course, as we always do, thank you a lot, Benji, for getting me back to that one. My memory's always the best, but so of course we have to make an introduction of who each and everyone on the podcast is. So first, I'm gonna ask Benji a bit to talk about more about yourself and how you started, etc. Just give a little bit of a backstory for your whole, well, from where you started to where you are now.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so me, I, as I mentioned before on a couple of the previous podcasts, it all started at around 7 or 8 years old of age. I was on a vacation trip in Amanzimtoti, KZN, and we visited this one bookstore there, and I saw the complete guide to the snakes of southern Africa by Han Murray. I saw the book and I was fascinated by the book, and my dad, I think he could sense that I really was interested in reading this book, seeing how much I liked it in the store. So he got it for me as a Christmas present, and I was fascinated ever since then. I would just look through the pictures, not much reading initially, but just looking at all the different kinds of snakes out there, and like, ooh, I like this one, or ooh, that one's got an interesting nose, or something. There's just so much variation that really struck my like curiosity and stuff. So um, from then on, I started reading a little bit more, and also, I think additionally, I was raised on nature documentaries. So um, uh, like Steve Irwin was like probably one of my biggest inspirations growing up, and Nigel Marven had some great programs as well. Even just other nature documentaries like David Attenborough's stuff. I was constantly looking at these nature documentaries and learning about the natural world. It became a really big part of my life growing up and striking my curiosity for the natural world. So then time went by. I actually started reading the book at the end of the day, not just looking at pictures anymore, so that I could get a better idea of what the species were called, and more things about them, like their habits in nature and just general facts and stuff. And then at some stage, I wanted to acquire my first reptile. And I don't really talk about this much, but I got my first corn snake at the age of 11. I begged my parents day and night to get the snake, and finally they let me get it. So I got the snake, super excited, brought it home and stuff. And the first time I want to take out the snake, snake bites me out of a feeding response. And as you can imagine, a poor 11-year-old being struck at by his pet snake, first time you want to handle it, it was shocking. I ran away from the snake. I told my parents how scared I was of it and I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. So at the end of the day, I got rid of that corn snake, that first one that I had, and kind of got out of reptiles for a bit. Didn't research them that much anymore because I thought that reptiles were hard to read and not easy to keep and stuff. So it took a while for me to get back into it again. So I think around the age of around 14, I then started doing a little bit more research again. I got the book out, I started reading a bit more, and then I really wanted to get me a snake again. Um, and I wanted to also kind of get over that fear I had after that first experience that was so negative. So I visited a reptile park in Hazy View where I got the opportunity to hold a Burmese python, which was just awesome. I thought I need this in my life again and stuff. Looked at some more videos and stuff online about aggressive snakes and how to handle them. And now looking back, I broke basically every rule handling that first snake that I had. I didn't know about tap training, I didn't know about a feeding response, nothing. If I had that snake right now and I got like a hook or anything and tapped it on the head and took it out, I probably would never get bit. So yeah. But anyways, long story short, I did eventually get back into reptiles again at the age of 15 years old. The very next year, I got another corn snake again, but this time I got a hatchling corn and cherished that snake like next level. And I couldn't stop there. Immediately moved over to Texas rats. Um, from there, anacondas, you name it. It was just crazy all over the place. And yeah, here I am today. I am 18 years of age. I turn 19 in 5 months. And I am a huge fan of the colubrids, especially dipsadids. So false water cobras, Barons racers, musaranos, all that type. And just a general soft spot for other colubrids as well. So North American colubrids, Asian colubrids, um, even some pythons, especially the Australian species. So yeah, decent variation there, a lot of interests, and I foresee that I'm gonna have a problem financially in future, being able to maintain everything that I want to keep. So yeah, that's basically how it started, and just research, research, research. Probably for the last consecutive 4 years, I have been researching reptiles pretty much every day of my life, sometimes for up to like 4 or 5 hours a day. So it's a tough grind, and sometimes it can get a bit much, but it really is worth it. And I have only recently started reaping the benefits of it, and I really enjoy the fact that you get to learn so much, not just about reptiles in general, but even geographically where they're from in the world, if that makes sense. So you learn about different cultures, different climates, everything. So yeah, that's me. How about you guys?
Oh, that's Keith's but yeah, basically it is quite interesting though to be able to know that you've been going, especially like 4 hours a day, just doing research constantly. And that's basically how we all start off. Well, hopefully Dylan will be doing the same as well. Speaking of Dylan, now we're gonna listen to his introduction. He's even pointing fingers at you.
Hey guys, I'm Dylan from KRS Empire. I've recently got my first two snakes, and under the guidance of Benji and Creed Venoms himself, I have actually absolutely just been thriving with my animals, and yeah, hopefully one day I can expand my collection of snakes and all around just expand my pets and friends, make new friends along the way.
Just that. Just not much.
Well,
No myths,
how I
anything.
started was actually um one day I went to Alex Creed Venoms and I decided, well, his snakes look absolutely cool and I want to learn more about them. So he started showing me his animals and I just started to love the snakes.
Oh, that's a bit of a short introduction. Oh, that makes sense. You're a newbie in this, so it makes sense. But there's no worries at all. So for y'all who don't know me, good day. I'm Alex van Staden from Creed's Venoms. Well, I'm a venomous keeper at the moment now, and hopefully in the future I'll be carrying on with the rest of my stuff. So basically, I was a young toddler, and my dad used to take me a lot to the bush. He would just chuck me there in the fields, like, yeah, here's a stick, go learn how to catch snakes. Now and then he'd actually show me how to work with them. But yeah, my first ever pet snake was also a corn snake, as well as any other person. Well, exotic pet because yeah, when I first started, it was like a herald snake and all that kind of stuff. But my first exotic pet was a male corn snake and a normal het male corn snake. And after that, I went over to other type of colibris, such as your Californian king snakes, my yellow rat snake I had back in the day. And after that, a couple of years went by, I started keeping boas and pythons. I had not really a massive, but I had a couple interesting stuff in my collection, such as my Kenyan sand boas, Amazon tree boas, maybe think of Burmese python, BCI boas, Colombian BCI boas, and Brazilian BCI boas. Just a variety of different locality of BCI boas as well. And then Kenyan sand boas, I think I mentioned that, I'm not entirely sure. And then after that, I went over to my first venomous snake, which was exotic venomous, which was a carpet. I had a carpet pair. Then after that, I went over to diamondbacks, white-lip tree vipers, mangrove pet vipers. And I think it was in 2021 when I started with the yellow anacondas. I remember Benji was here back in the day with the anacondas. And he would just look at these. He's like, I want one too. And then he got himself a baby. So yeah, I think it's been going now for 13 years of working with snakes and around 8 years now with venomous snakes in general. So that's a little bit of a short introduction towards myself. And a lot of people know me in the community. I just don't know if I'm everyone's favorite though, because I'm a bit straightforward towards them. Well, but yeah, that's a little bit of a introduction towards me and my reputation, etc. as well. Benji, would you like to carry on with whatever you want to say, if you want to?
Sure. I think it'd be worth it before we start jumping in to everything that we should just throw out a quick disclaimer to everybody out there. From my side, initially or especially, I am by no means an expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. No, I'm kidding. Sometimes the information that I get can be from sources which aren't all that trustworthy. At the end of the day, I'm human as well. I always make mistakes and I quick to learn from my mistakes and so on. Don't take everything that we say as like, the be all and end all. Always do your own research and so on. Luckily, today's episode, the topic of discussion is not something that too much research is required prior to doing this, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of opinions, very strong opinions associated with the podcast that we're recording today. So these are our own opinions. If you have your opinions, that's it. But yeah, this is just how we feel about everything and so on. So yeah, I guess we could jump in real quick. So the first question, do you want to ask the first question of the thing I've put on the layout, or is there anything you wanted to add concerning disclaimer or what?
I just wanna know a quick question, real quick. So, if you could give me a big, like a massive description of herpiculture, How would you describe it?
So, herpetoculture, that is the basic term used for people that collect, keep, and breed reptiles as a basic hobby, whether it be professionally or just as a hobby. So it's basically, I guess you could see it as a culture based on that being in the name. So basically just keeping herbs and stuff, normal people doing that. And yeah, so it could be keeping and breeding, all of that, all the same thing. And that is not just that's not just reptiles, there's also amphibians included. So yeah, that's that.
All right. But okay, so next question: how would you describe the people, well, from the from the whole community, if I could say so? Like, if you could describe every single person, not really every single person, but every single community. Because of course you get the venomous community, the colubrid community, the ball python community, big python and boa community, monitors, and all that. How would you describe each one of them? Hello, 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 hello. My, what do you have over here? What a surprise, what a surprise. Now, I'm just messing with you. To be honest, I love my beekeepers. Well, something I could personally say about, well, beekeepers. They're the toughest people, but they're basically the most, I wouldn't say the most soft, but they're the most kind-hearted people out of everyone I've ever dealt with. They're that type of people who would confidently tell you, listen, I don't think I'm better. I know I'm better in a good way. Like, these people, in my opinion, I love them a lot more than the people will come to next. If Benji knows what I mean.
Yeah, no, big snake people definitely different. I think it has to do a lot with being able to house such incredibly large animals is not really something that anyone can just do. It's really expensive enclosures and stuff. Just the general care and maintenance of such species really insane. So I guess that has an effect on that as well. And those kinds of guys usually have to know what they're doing because at that stage a non-venomous snake becomes a bit of a hazard, if you know what I mean, because you could easily, I've heard people passing due to accidents with large constrictors like that,
Yellow
but then
anaconda,
also I've heard them
massive
get
retic
crazy
python.
injuries and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Same with what happened to my hand back in the day with my yellow anacondas. Like, if I can describe yellow anacondas, so back in the day I had a massive female. She was probably around 2.5 meters around there, and I always told my mum in the beginning, I held that snake, and when I got out, it just had a couple bite marks, and my mum would freak out. Then after a long while, I just told my mum, listen, mum, I'm just gonna handle the annies. She's like, alright, cool, now let's enjoy it. I come out, literally my arms, my chest, my shoulders is filled with blood, and also my face, especially my face, my poor handsome face.
Oh dang. Yeah, no, anacondas. I've never worked with green anacondas before, but yellow anacondas, those things, yeah, they're bitey. The most bitey snake species I've ever worked with. But also one of the snakes I really miss the most, I must say. I really, really do miss the yellow annies and stuff. But yeah, anyways, on to the next community, the boa community, which I guess anacondas do actually fall under that
It's
as well,
basically the
being
same
boas.
as our big snakes in general. Well, except for the booms and red ticks, of course.
Yeah, so, but yeah, when I refer to boas, I guess I'm referring more generally to the smaller, like more common boas and so on. Um, those kinds of people, those communities, or especially here in South Africa, really close knit communities. Um, those guys are, they're not as private, if I can put it that way. It seems like, especially for the next one, the venomous community is probably the most private community, in my opinion. Those guys are very private about what they're doing and everything. They kind of just keep to themselves and stuff. And the boa community seems to be more tightly knit of a community and more willing to help out and sharing constantly and stuff, at least here in South Africa. So I don't know, what's your take on that?
So basically, sorry, I had to listen real quick about what Dylan. He asked if we can add the wild keepers in, well, as well to the list.
If we can add which keepers?
The wild card keepers. The wild keepers.
I don't think so, because wild caught could be anything. Hey, I
KZN.
think generally we'll be referring to captive bred animals in general as well, especially because in South Africa, at least to my knowledge, most of the time, um, collecting animals from the wild will be considered poaching. So yeah, I think we'll probably stick to the captive keeping and the communities that keep those captive animals. Generally going to be exotic as well, but yeah. Anyways,
Indeed. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think you want to? Would you like to explain about the venomous, or you want me to continue with it?
I think you carry on with the venomous. I am not part of the venomous community yet. I'm not really allowed to keep any hots and stuff, and you know a bit more obviously than I do. So you go for it, man.
Okay, so next one, reason why, probably because I have more experience towards it, and also I think Benji don't want to be captured by the mob or anything about that, the mafia, if he decides to say anything. So the thing about the venomous community, the reason why they are so private, because look, you get the venomous keepers, you get the hook handlers, and then you have the one everyone hates. Like, I personally don't mind them. They should just be on their own, but they shouldn't publicly post about it. Free handlers. Now, everyone don't like free handlers, and people don't even like it if they post videos about them free handling. It's on every single group that you find. Any WhatsApp group, any Facebook group, you're not allowed to post free handling. Now, reason why they're so private, well, as what I've seen. So, a lot of people, the thing about the venomous community, they are quite a toxic community. They are like, if you take, for example, a corn snake group, if you post a corn snake in a tub with paper towel, water dish, um, and there's something wrong with the snake, just a little bit something, they will help you out. They will assist you. They will, well, as what I've seen, they'll ask you, make updates on how is everything going. They'll even ask you how's it going with the snake, all that kind of stuff. If you do the same on a venomous reptile group, those people will come to you with torches and pitchforks. Like, I've seen that every single day. The admins on these groups have to either remove the people or they have to delete the messages because these people are so disrespectful towards each other, especially the young venomous keepers, as I've seen. Like, a lot of these people, they always think they're better than the other person. And if you're, for example, such as me, I've been attacked when I started with my venomous, also by a lot of these experienced people. Luckily, I do know a couple of my mates that are basically, well, good mates of mine that basically helped me out, but most of them, they go towards you like something else. They'll attack you out of nowhere. So the thing is with venomous, you have to have a lot of training, a lot of experience, and you have to know exactly everything that snake can do. Not only with defense, not only with venom, but also how to take care of the animal. The perfect security towards that animal, you have to have the right, well, the correct equipment. Your hooks, you have to have different size hooks. Your tubes, your tongs, literally a lot of that in general. Like, we had a discussion on this one group about this one bloke that basically had venomous in his bedroom. Now, to be honest, I don't mind. The snakes should just be secured. But with me, with my venomous snakes, all of my venomous snakes are outside. Outside, secured in my reptile house. It's just everything is secure. Every single snake which is in an enclosure is locked. Everything is locked. Hooks are on the wall. My diploma, etc. Everything is on the wall. My other equipment is on the desk. Everything should be perfect because if something goes wrong, with a lot of exotic species, you don't find anti-venom. Well, in South Africa, which is also, and the thing is, a lot of doctors don't know how to treat your wounds. That's why you should have a bite protocol. Now for me, I have bite protocols from Sean Bush, which is way in the United States, so it's not really going to work, as a lot of people told me. Point of view for the venomous, well, they are toxic, but now and then for a reason. Like, some people do make mistakes and they have to be, well, taught correctly, but they just do it. They're just a bit too hard with the newbies, in my opinion. But other than that, that's just how the venomous community is. They are probably, out of all the communities, the most toxic of them all. Or ruthless, if I can state it as so. But yeah, would you like to carry on? Or any questions?
Nope. I think we're good, and I think just a little joke. I think they're probably the most toxic community because of the venom that
Yeah,
is toxic.
toxic. Yeah, I'll get that.
in the name.
I always make that joke with Dyllan.
So yeah, but yeah, I think the venomous community is probably like that because it's probably one of the most specialized communities because of the danger factor that is involved. I've listened to many podcasts before on venomous keeping, and a lot of the guys say that before you jump into venomous keeping, you need to have at least several years of non-venomous keeping experience before you jump into venomous, because if you encounter things like you shouldn't be getting, but if you get stuck shed, or you have to deal with mites or RI or anything basically that could pop up, you need to be able to know how to deal with that, and you need to have had experience with that with non-venomous snakes before you jump into venomous. So I guess when someone then messes up and like, yeah, I've been keeping, a corn snake for the last 6 months or something, and then he wants to hop into venomous, that's not really the way to go. So, and not bashing on corn snakes, could be anything, but anything that's a low maintenance pet, you can't just want to jump into venomous straight from that. So I think because it's such a specialized community, that's why it's like that. As for the rest of the communities, most of them I'd say also pretty private. Monitor community, very private, also specialized. Tortoise community, probably just old people and 9-year-olds doing that, in my opinion. But yeah, I can't really think of any other communities. But I must say, of all the communities that I've encountered, not reptile related, but the nicest community I've ever been a part of was the arachnid community. Oh, the tarantula people are wonderful. Because tarantulas are so inexpensive, those people are so friendly. They help you with everything. Everyone's so nice. It's weird that we don't have that with reptiles, which I don't understand. But yeah, crazy, hey?
And it is so. So basically, we have nicknames for every single of those blokes. So for the arachnids, we call them racks. We just call them rack people. And then for people such as amphibian keepers, of course, we call them amphs. So there's a lot of that. But yeah, personally, I've kept tarantulas back in the day, but I've seen the prices went down with them. But it's, well, as I've noticed, curlies, slings, $5 each. Adults, about 50, $100 each or so. Juvenile, sorry. But yeah, personal opinion, extremely nice people. Like I've seen, and those people they brag a lot. I've seen people. Oh wow, look at my feathered egg baboon. Wow, good. Look at my cobalt blue. Oh, look at my Indian ornamental. Yeah, personal opinion. I love the racks. I love those people as well. But I don't see amps anymore. The amphibian keepers.
Yeah, to add something, the amps are actually just really shy people in general. I haven't seen very much of them.
But yeah, um, you got it. Well, what others would you like to add to the list?
I can't really think of any other communities that are part of that. Um, but yeah, it looks like something on with the Wi-Fi. Alex's side. I guess I should just pause here real quick for you, buddy.
Okay, so anyway, you have any other um type of keepers you want to add to the list?
Not really. I think we've got through most of them so far. Guess we could hop on to the next thing we wanted to discuss.
Okay, so where was that? We're basically done with the whole herpiculture, I reckon. So
Cool.
next are pioneers.
Sure.
So what's the definition of pioneers?
Pioneer is someone, to my knowledge, who is like a founding father of a sport or new type of thing or whatever, basically like an explorer or something like that. But for reptiles in this scenario, there's quite a few, and I guess you know who I'm talking about, so take it away.
Yeah, my love. Well, no, that's okay. Now, my love for snakes started with this one bloke. So everyone loves this bloke, if I could state it. So Steve Irwin. So a little bit of an introduction. I actually have a book it's basically Steve Irwin's diary, or more like a bibliography of his whole story since where his dad opened up this reptile park to where he was a teenager and he took like 5 or 6 red-bellied black snakes and chuck them on a bus, and everyone was afraid of it. And basically, he was the main start of keeping exotic reptiles. Like everyone watched this bloke on, of course, DSTV, on Natural Geographic and Animal Planet, and everyone just wanted to start keeping snakes in general. Not just snakes, but a lot of type of reptiles. And for now, the reptile community has been growing because of this one specific bloke. Would you like to add anything up to it?
Nope, I think you summed it up perfectly there. Steve Irwin was definitely a very, very big influence on my life as well. He's like the legend, and he got so many people started as well. Absolute legend.
Yeah, it is so. But so basically, would you like to um, elaborate more on our pioneers? Like anyone else? David Attenborough, Steve Austin.
Uh, so David Attenborough, not really into reptiles, but I think definitely for just nature in general. But Nigel Marvin for me was also a really big influence on my life. He also goes around the world and he has these top 10 deadliest snakes of whichever country or whatever. And then he went to those locations to go and find these things and stuff. But yeah, Animal Planet and Nature Wild was like the thing back in the day, and it got so many people started. So basically made reptiles and natural world cool. So now it has definitely started a movement, I think, and it's been growing and growing. I think it's
And
very
it is
cool.
definitely. So the main topic. Well, yeah, I think we're basically done with that topic, I reckon.
Sure.
Okay, so for the main topic of which everyone would like to basically want to know, well, especially the reason why I've been doing this is because I've been noticing a lot of people on these YouTube shorts and the TikTok, a lot of people hate reptiles, and reptile keepers hate these people. So, basically, the main question for this topic is how society and reptile keepers affect each other. So, of course, like I've said, like you see a lot of these TikTok blokes and broads, they're there with their, especially with the broads, they are there on the video with leopard geckos and, of course, their bikinis on, all kind of stuff. So, and a lot, they're just like, yeah, you should kill that snake, you should kill this, do that, and then they do this little TikTok dance. So, basically, what's your opinion about this? Well, not about the bikinis, etc., but how society and reptile keepers affect each other, in your opinion, and what you've noticed.
Well, I'm not really that kind of a social person. I'm not really that much into social media and stuff, so I don't really know how the social network gets affected by that and how people feel about it on social media. But um, I can definitely give my opinion on how people, um, in general, in public, people that I meet, um, how they feel about reptiles, and I'll tell you that the majority of people have a very negative outlook towards reptiles. I mean, it's crazy. Like, even family and friends that I used to have, I say used to have because they kind of just write you off once they figure out you're into reptiles. Like, yeah, last time I saw you, you were like a little kid. Now you're into reptiles. It's kind of weird. Um, some people are definitely a bit more cool about it and seem to be fine with the idea that you're into reptiles. They think it's cool because it's natural and whatnot. But yeah, and then there's other people out there who I've met who are willing to listen and they find it quite interesting actually. So yeah, but the majority of people really are very scared of reptiles, and that's where education comes in and stuff. So yeah, it's sad, but I think it's a learned behavior. Like they learn to fear reptiles and stuff. It's come many generations and so on. So I think that is it. And I think it's just misinformation. They're misinformed. They don't know enough about the animals to know what goes on and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I'd say. But yeah, back to the bikinis.
Yeah, no, it is so. So, no, not back to bikinis, please. Basically, just want to know, how does the people around you, like, what's their opinion towards you keeping reptiles?
Well, like I said, luckily my closest family members who live with me and stuff, they relatively supportive of it. Sometimes they just shake their heads at me as well because I want too many reptiles or I'm too deep into it sometimes or stuff. Um, but yeah, then like basically like I've said, I've lost friends before that used to be really good friends of mine, and then the moment they figure out I keep reptiles and stuff, they think I'm weird and stuff. So yeah, not the nicest, but then again, I must say that I have kind of made up for that. The people that you meet in this community who also share the same passion for reptiles, that like is next level, being able to relate to people like that and share knowledge with them. And you basically trading knowledge most of the time. Something I realized a bit back is I have a lot of friends who keep species completely different to what I keep, but then they're interested in what I keep and I'm interested in what they keep, and we're just constantly trading knowledge and information. So I think the people that you meet in this community, they definitely help and make up for that. But yeah, that's just me. But like I said, most people generally very negative about reptiles and don't really want to discuss it. So yeah, how about you guys?
It is so bad. So basically, to elaborate on my story now, keep in mind here in Cartonville, a lot of people aren't really so nice with each other. Like every single day, I hear basically blokes tell me, "Yeah, if I were, I'd kill that wrinkles." Especially my mum's new boyfriend. Bloody when that bloke's drunk, yeah, I'll eat the wrinkles with a pipe. I bash a puff at his head with my boots. And it's not only that, but also it affects me at school as well. Like a lot of kids bully me, well, because of it. And then it's not only, especially not with blacks, but also broads as well. Like I usually confront the broads when they insult me about the hobby.
And how did that end up?
I'm gonna die alone. Buddy, that's just a sad reality if I can state it as so. Um, but yeah, the people ain't really nice this side, and they don't really like me because of the fact that I work with dangerous snakes, especially on my young age. So, and also my mum, now she likes that I have a passion, but she is terrified of snakes. Like, the only snake she'll handle is a sandboa. Now, keep in mind, I don't like sandboas, but I have one. For some reason, I have a little sandboa. And that thing's weird. I just don't like sandboas. Every time when I'm at an expo, for some reason, I come back with the sandboa. 100% unexpected, if I could say it so. But yeah, that's the only snake my mum will handle. And iguanas. Every single December. Oh, Alex, when am I getting my iguana? Ha! Do you have $2,000 for me? Oh, I promise I'll pay it back when I get my alligator. But yeah, that's just a little thing. But quick question: how do you think reptile keepers affect society? To turn it around a bit.
Hey, that is a really difficult question, actually. Um, your because I know how people like that see us. I guess how we, more like how we see normal people, because we're also normal people, but people who don't really share that passion with us. Sometimes it can make you feel quite lonely and stuff, because we are kind of a minority group and stuff. But yeah, I think if more people could realize and more people could become educated, they'd realize that we, in fact, do affect everything in a positive way with this passion and stuff. All of the things that we can do for the natural environment and everything with all of that. So that's what I'd have to say about that. How about you? Do you have like a different take on that or something?
No, I don't really know because the way I look to it, well, how they say their personal opinions. Because to be honest, my neighborhood loves the fact, my whole neighborhood, they love the fact that I own snakes. Because if I, now and then, because back in the day I had a Burmese python, and every time if there was a bloke just walking around suspicious, they'd ask me, they'd just shoot me a message like, Alex, can you just bring a python of you out just to scare them off? So in a way they like it, but when was it again? I think it was 2020. No, 2019. There was this one broad who wanted to rent our apartment. So, and then she came in, and then she saw the big blue house at the back. Well, the small little house, windy house. She was like, "What's in there?" I said, "Oh, it's my snakes." She's like, "Oh, cool. Can I go have a look?" I'm like, "I don't know who worries." She went. She was like, "Wow, these are so amazing animals." The next day, she came here. Yeah, I don't want to live in this house. There's a lot of snakes here. I'm terrified of snakes. Just a lot of dramatic stuff. So a lot of people, some people, well, a lot of people like the fact that people such as me are in the neighborhoods. It's for security reasons, and other people are just plain, well, as far as I know, a lot of people have ophidiophobia, which is a fear of snakes. So a lot of people are just terrified of snakes. So in a way, for some people, it's security. For other people, it's just plain danger. It's like, for them, it's like walking in a trap. You never know what you're gonna step on, etc. So yeah, for some people it's stressful, for other people it's a benefit, in my opinion. But for me, I'm glad that my whole neighborhood loves the fact that I own snakes. And they like me and appreciate it for me. Well, appreciate me for it, if I can state it as so. But yeah, so Wow. Any?
Also, something I can add on to that is I must say that it is cool within the local community how everyone has started, they get to know you as the local snake guy. So then for removal situations as well, a really cool it becomes a cool opportunity for you as the snake removaler to basically go in and remove the snake safely from their property and relocate it somewhere else in nature, because then it means that they don't have to risk trying to catch the snake themselves or to dispose of it in another way by killing it or something, because it is dangerous and a lot of people do get killed by snakes trying to kill the snake, if that makes sense, because the snake doesn't want to be killed, so it's naturally going to defend itself. And then also it gives us a cool opportunity to educate those people. So I really like the fact about that as well, that we can try to educate people like that in our local community just with removals and stuff. So yeah, last thing I wanted to add there.
Yeah, it makes sense. Especially I can. What's the word for it? Well, I can basically well assimilate
Relate.
myself with that. But yeah, I can resemble myself towards that because a lot of people they know me around here as a snake guy. Now, of course, well, here in Cottonville it used to be three, but now with Dyllan it's actually four people. But a lot of people know me the longest because I've been actually in Cottonville the longest with the reptiles. So a lot of people know me for my snakes, and then a lot of people just call me out of nowhere. Hey Alex, I have a snake here in my backyard, or hey Alex, I have a snake here on my farm. There's one time my grandma used to live here on Water's Edge. It's a bunch of farms here just outside Carltonville. She called me. Hey Alex, I'm out. Here's a snake. It's about over a meter long. We think it's a mamba because his mouth is black. I'm like, we don't find mambas around here. Alright, cool. I went there. It was a 10 centimeter baby egg eater. Went all the way just for that little snake. But yeah, a lot of people, and not just that, there's a lot of snakes here, especially wrinkles. We find herald snakes, we find brown house snakes, aurora house snakes, whip snakes in general, blind snakes, especially when going out to herping. But wrinkles is the most you find around here in the rural area, if I can state it so. But it is for some people it's a benefit, some people not, in my opinion. So we're gonna go to the next subject.
Cool, yeah.
All right. So for the next one, how the public feels about them.
Hmm. There is a lot, and I guess we could take turns with this, but there's a lot of stories that I've heard about misconceptions people do have with reptiles. I think, yeah, there's so many. And I guess we could actually kind of do like a mini debunking of all of these things that I hear. So, a common misconception that I hear from people is that every single snake in the world is venomous. Well, most of them say poisonous. Um, so how about one of you guys do the honors of debunking that little myth for us?
Okay, so for a lot of people, well, of course, with the poison and the venom. So the difference between poison and venom. So poison you should ingest to be able to have an effect on. I can literally go catch a wrinkles out of the wild. I don't do this. You might have a little bit of a tissue damage or an infection or an open wound inside your mouth. So don't do this at all. But I could literally go into the wild, catch the wrinkles, drain the blood out, not the blood, sorry, the venom out, and drink it. Nothing will happen. But let's just say you take a poisonous snake, such as a keelback, and you decide to eat that, you'll die. Same goes to a lot of frogs in general. And then with the venom, venom should be, well, injected into your body. It should go through your bloodstream to have an effect. So you can basically, yeah, and a lot of people think that if you eat a venomous snake that you'll die. That's not really the case at all. So that's a little bit of an introduction towards the difference between poison and venom. Dylan want to say anything?
Yeah, and if you're starting in this community, there's one thing that always comes up, and it is the fact that your snake is trying to size you up to eat you. The number of times I've heard this is actually, if I had a buck for it, I would probably have millions of bucks right now. I've lost count, and I'm only in this for like 3 or 4 months now. And the number of times people say your snake is trying to size you up when it lays next to you. In fact, it's not true at all. I know there's been one case of a big snake that ate a person,
A retic.
a retic, yeah, as Alex said, but it's not doing that. Your snake is not trying to, and it does definitely not see you as food.
Well, in any case, Benji would like to elaborate anything on the sizing up type of thing.
Not really, but yeah, I've also heard this story a lot of times, probably the second most common misconception that I hear. And I've heard so many different variations of the story that I don't even know which one is the original anymore. A lot of people say it's no, that they heard about a lady that was sleeping with a snake in the bed, and then the snake would size her up. Some people say it was a or most people just say python. Some people say a boa, you know. But then basically she spoke to her vet or a doctor or something about this odd behavior, about the snake cuddling up next to her. And then that person basically told them, no, you should get rid of that snake because it's sizing you up and whatnot. Whereas in reality, it's not really true. What I could add on to that, an interesting snippet, is that a snake in the wild, let's take now, for instance, a corn snake. If a corn snake goes up to a mouse or a rat or a vole or a mole or whatever and wants to eat it, it's not going to go to it and then go and lie right next to it and say, no, no, hold on. I just want to see if I can swallow you successfully. They just don't do that. Like, if it were to do that, the mouse would run away. So snakes don't have that instinct built into them to want to size you up to see if they can fit you in. And I think a big part of that is to do with anatomy as well. Is that people who don't keep reptiles, they don't understand that your snake is not stomach all the way from behind its head all the way to its tail. A snake's stomach is probably only like 40% of its body, if even, you know. It's not really a long thing that people think is all the way down from the head. So it is very, very rare. And yes, it has happened, but that was a mainland reticulated python who was probably upwards of like 20 plus years old, a really massive snake, ginormous, and I heard that it was a very small person who was swallowed as well. If you think about us humans in general, we're difficult to swallow because of our wide shoulders. Basically, everything else in nature isn't built like us. So, yeah, that would be something I could say about that. But yeah, have you guys got any more common misconceptions that you hear?
So I just want to add something to this. So Benji, you know me. You know I am a crazy bloke. You know I'll do anything to prove that my statement is correct. So back in the day, when I heard that for, let me just think mathematical real quick. The 238th time, the sizing up thing. I was like, you know what? I have a Burmese python that's 2 meters long. I'm gonna go try this out. So I did exactly what the broad did. I took that snake out of its enclosure. I closed my doors and my windows, everything. I placed that snake on my bed. It slept next to me. Next morning, I woke up with a massive dunk on my bed and a snake somehow on the ceiling fan. That's all. That snake didn't. There was no bite marks. There was no stretching. There was no suffocation. Nothing. So, point of view is that basically, if I can add, well, elaborate on that. So the thing is with snakes is that they usually, as we've spoken on the Colubriate, North American Colubriate podcast, snakes usually eat what is in their environment. So I think what happened there with that retic swallowing that person, that snake was probably in that village for a lot of times. And I think there was probably a lot of big animals there in general, such as the people's cattle, because I've heard of snakes eating like stuff up to springbucks. So I think um, other type of goats and all kind of stuff was there. And probably the person, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It was either the person, well, had the same scent as a goat or anything on it, and they probably got eaten, if I could state it so. And like you said, it's a small person, so shoulders wasn't probably that wide, and the snake was probably a massive snake, so that also might be the case with that. But in reality, snakes, they don't try to size you up at all. Like, not that I've known. And another myth I hear this side a lot. I see people on our carnival security groups. A dead snake without a tail. Apparently, as people say, the snake's tail is no, the snake's heart is at its tail. So they chop off the tail. Just imagine that. What's your statement on that?
Yeah, that is just ludicrous. We all know that a snake's heart sits about the first third down from the head on a snake, so chopping his tail off won't have any effect on the snake not having a heart anymore, if that makes any sense. So no, that is just ludicrous. Not really much further to comment on that. It's just, yeah, it's weird to me that people come up with these things. I guess it's because we've been in this for so long. But yeah, any other misconceptions you guys have, or do you guys want to jump into the next aspect of this discussion?
Okay, so Dylan just gave me another thing to talk about. A lot of people say that all snakes are nocturnal. So I don't truly believe that. There's another story I've heard, but I'm not entirely sure if it's correct. Apparently, you could look at the snake's pupils to determine whether it's a nocturnal or a diurnal species. For example, if it's like a slit, most of the time a slit, then you know that that snake's nocturnal. However, if it's like a long, like a round pupil, then it's diurnal. Well, would you like to elaborate more on that, or if it's true or not?
Yeah, I think it does. Most of the time it is like that, and you can determine whether a snake is generally nocturnal or diurnal based on that fact. But I have found that some snakes, for some reason, they will adapt and they will just be completely different. Bredl's pythons are a good example of that, where they will be active different times of the day, different times of the year. They some parts of the year they'll be more active during the day, other times they'll be more active during nightfall. But they've also got those vertical slits in their pupil. So, but if you think about it, the pupil, if it's vertical slit like that, it is to let in more light when it's dark and stuff, so that they can better see and stuff. And yes, there are diurnal species and nocturnal species. I'm not sure which one is the more prominent form, but there's definitely both of them. And generally, that rule of around pupil is a diurnal species and the vertical slit is nocturnal. But there's always exceptions to the rule. That's just a basic rule of thumb. So, yeah.
It is sad because usually when I go out herping, during the day, whip snakes, sand snakes, scarp stickers, everywhere. At night, brown house snakes, aurora house snakes, brown water snakes, wrinkles. So basically, well, as of now, I don't know, but yeah, some snakes are diurnal, some snakes are nocturnal, but not all of them are just straight up nocturnal. Like I stated it so. Well, I think that's basically all the myths on my side. Do you have any else you would like to, well, recommend?
No, I haven't really got that many misconceptions. The thing usually about misconceptions is you'll hear one or two weird ones and then you just don't want to think about it ever again in your life. So I think we
I
got
got it.
most of the
I have one.
common ones.
I have one. So basically, I don't know. Should I explain both or just one? Nah, it's well with that. I'll just say both. So here's two quotes that I'll explain to you now. Every South African probably that's a reptile keeper probably heard this. I have a 20-meter long black mamba, king cobra, or a green anaconda in my backyard. How often do you hear something like that? A snake that's so long. Well, how often do you hear about that around there?
I don't really hear that around here, but I have heard of people quoting sizes upwards of 15, 20 meters. And yeah, just not true. The reality is that the longest snake ever officially recorded was a reticulated python, and I believe it measured just over 7 meters, which is a phenomenal size. But yeah, that you do hear people um, exaggerating sizes. I just thought of one right now, actually, is that, and I actually hear this one quite often. Most people will tell you that snakes are slimy, and that that is just not true. Snakes, most of the time, depending on their scalation, most snakes have smooth scales, so they feel very smooth, like a leathery kind of smooth feel to them. The snakes with keeled scales is basically like a little in the middle of the scale, just like a little like a not like a dent, but like the opposite of a dent, just like kind of a raised pot in the middle of the scale, which gives them this like kind of rough texture. And sometimes this the angle of the scales also um, has an effect on that as well. But because of snakes' scales being like that and stuff, it gives them this sort of shiny appearance. And because people kind of freak out and stuff about snakes, if they have felt one before and they say it's slimy, it's because their brain told them that it was slimy. I'm sure that if they spent like half an hour with decent like uh education and stuff on that, that then they would know that it's not slimy and stuff, that it's actually smooth.
You know, they're so bad. Cause yeah, basically, if you look at it, reptile, like a lot of people, not really a lot of people, but I've heard of people saying that, especially with the scaleless snakes. But in reality, they just feel like your fingers, like a leathery texture. And with a lot of, I wouldn't say snakes are smooth, not slimy, but they're smooth. Like some snakes have a rough texture, such as your egg eaters and a lot of vipers. Elaborate? Oh, yeah, because egg eaters have a basically, well, it's a non-venomous snake, doesn't even have teeth, and it has a rough, like keels on its scales, which just rubs together to make this loud hissing noise. And then with a lot of vipers, they have also this rough, well, texture like this keels on the scales. And a lot of people told me that you can tell the difference between a venomous snake and a non-venomous snake by their scales. A lot of people told me that the keeled scales are venomous and smooth scales are non-venomous, which is strange because you look at your black mamba, you look at your cobras, you look at other type of the leopards, even look at no, not that. Sorry, but mostly leopards have like a smooth scales, and a lot of vipers have the keeled scales. So that's not really true. But yeah, comparing with the sliming of the scales, um, basically the scales are just smooth. They're not entirely slimy.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've also heard another misconception now that you mentioned where people think you can determine whether a snake's venomous or non-venomous by looking
Wait.
at the scales. Another misconception that I hear is people will say that you can um, judge a snake on if it's venomous or non-venomous based on its head shape. A lot of people will tell you a triangular head shape is always venomous, and if it has anything that's not a triangular head shape that it's non-venomous, and it's simply not true. And usually you hear that in the States, not really that much around here, but in the States, if you think about it, a lot of these, especially Pantherophis, and even I've seen some Pityophis do it as well, I think, is that they will flatten out their heads in a triangular shape, like an arrowhead, to try and look intimidating and look like a rattlesnake. They'll also do their mimicry with their tail, where they rattle it and stuff against leaves and brush to try and sound like a rattlesnake. So it's more common there, but it's also a misconception I've heard. Um, and it's simply not true because, I mean, if you think about a black mamba, its head shape is kind of like a coffin, which is quite a unique head shape in my opinion. But yeah, not going off the rails. What do you guys want to add?
But yeah, so Dylan just asked me a bit. He wanted me to say it, but I personally want him to say it because it's something he, well, basically learned by himself about the Bushmaster.
Yeah, I learned something about the Bushmaster, and I heard that its scales are so sharp that it can actually cut you from time to time. Yeah, and yeah, I just learned that the other day when I was watching one of my favorite shows.
And what show was that?
Uh, Reptile Adventures from Dave Koofman.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, a lot of people like watching Dave Kaufman with his reptile ventures on the internet. Especially a lot of the people around here ask me about that bloke and oh look at this white python. He says it's a ball python. Yeah, it's blue cystic, nothing interesting. I see them a lot. But yeah, I would like to add anything else to it.
Not really. I've also heard that Bushmaster scales are like that, where it's like a cheese grater where it can cut you. I'm not actually sure if that's true. Might have to do a bit more research on that. But yeah, if it is like that, that would be really interesting. Imagine handling a Bushmaster and then it cuts you just by its scales. So wild.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think yeah, we can actually go handle the Bushmaster. We just have to find out who has in South Africa. Oh, where that thing go?
Oh, damn.
Oh, damn.
Damn.
Okay, that's okay. That's
It's
okay.
fine.
Okay. So, want to continue to next subject?
Sure.
Okay. So, how keeping affects the wild? Pros and cons. How would you describe that?
Sorry, you just have to repeat that. You broke up there for a second.
Oh, my apologies. How keeping affects the wild and the ecosystem? The pros and the cons.
Ah, yes. So I guess we could discuss the pros. Um, about, and you're talking specifically in the wild now. So what I really like about the fact that we're keeping reptiles and especially breeding reptiles in captivity is well, the one aspect of it is education, is if we can educate people on what is going on and these populations in the wild maybe are under stress or something, that then those people would be less inclined to kill those snakes or something and rather get someone to remove them for them. So that's the one thing that we can do which does benefit wild populations. Another thing which does benefit them is going to be breeding and stuff. I have heard about people releasing captive bred reptiles back into areas where they have gone basically extinct before. So that is actually quite interesting and awesome. I think that we can do that we have these basically like backup animals which we can release back into the wild because of the fact that we are breeding them and stuff. So yeah, that would be the pros. Have you got anything else to add to the pros?
Indeed, so, but so another thing from Dylan, real quick.
So I generally think that it doesn't actually affect the environment, such as non-profitable organizations such as NatCon, which do a very great job at keeping the ecosystems of certain places safe by, like, you have to get think, permit for some type of snakes or clearance that you may keep the snake. Well, not in KZN, but yeah, you have to get like permits and stuff to get these type of snakes in your area, which I think is just great what they're trying to do and saving our ecosystems.
Indeed. So getting back to basically the cons about keeping, well, especially for the wilds. So we all have heard of Florida and the Burmese pythons. There was a breeding facility and a hurricane hit, and Burmese pythons are everywhere there now, and the whole population for American alligators have dropped because of the fact that the environment is so perfect for those animals. A lot of species, not just American alligators, but a lot of other type of reptiles and especially mammals, the population has dropped ever since all that. And the thing is, a lot of people, they get a snake, probably, let's take an example. What can we take as an example? Literally any type of snake. Let's take a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor, they get this small little snake, and they, well, it's not just with them thinking the snake will just stay that small, but especially with some breeders, not everyone, some breeders, who just want to make a little bit of profit. And they tell that person that snake will stay small. That snake grows to around 2-3 meters long. They can't take care of that animal anymore. They try selling it. Nobody wants to take it, and then they just get so tired of this snake, they just drop it into the wild. And then either the snake passes away, or it can actually have quite an impact when being called, well, introduced to another boa constrictor that has been released into the wild. Those snakes can breed and overpopulate, and then that will also have a massive effect, not only for the environment, but also for the other people actually wanting to keep this species. However, now they have to, well, ban that species because of the fact that it's now considered native and invasive. So it has a quite a massive impact when you take exotic animals from another country and then just chuck it into a new country. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. However, for South Africa, because of the fact that we have either too cold or too hot temperatures, boa constrictors and a lot of those type of species that are from tropical areas won't actually, well, survive around here, especially with our cold temperatures in the winter, going from around like below zero, either between below zero and almost about 5 degrees. You don't see that a lot there in places such as Asia, etc. So that's basically another impact I can state about that. Would you like to add anything to it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it is unfortunate that does happen as well. I think um, that if we just manage it properly, and yeah, it does suck, the paperwork and all of that stuff, being having to obtain all of that, but sometimes it really is necessary because sometimes these animals will absolutely destroy natural ecosystems and stuff because of that. So sometimes it really is necessary for the paperwork and stuff. Other than that, I think just educating people and stuff would be a good idea, so we can try and get more awareness about this kind of thing. That if you do end up obtaining a species like that which you can't house properly, either just donate it to a shelter, get in touch with people who know a bit more than you, or something like that. Don't release pets into the wild. You're not doing that animal a favor, you're not doing the ecosystem a favor. So yeah, that is unfortunate that happens, and yeah, I do agree with the whole climate thing here in South Africa, at least, that there's some species on the alien invasive species list that just don't make any sense to me. And the areas that they list these things in also just don't make any sense to me, but I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole. So yeah, if you guys don't have anything more to add, then I guess we could go into the second thing that I could have thought that would negatively impact wild populations, which would be poaching. Because yeah, the unfortunately our reptile community has grown. There are people who don't really like to follow the rules, so then If it's wild caught and they can have a new species that no one has, then they'll take it. Doesn't really matter where it comes from. And if there is a demand for something, then there will be a supply, unfortunately. So, yeah, you guys want to elaborate on that?
Basically, so talking about now that we're on the subject of wild caught keepers, etc. Now, the thing is with these poachers, they are some of the most intelligent people, businessmen I've ever seen. They know exactly how to get away with poaching. They know exactly who to trust, who not to trust. Back in the day, I basically, decided on actually investigating more about this, and I actually spoke to a couple of these people. Like people, and they actually trust me. I don't know how or why, but probably because people tell them I'm a good person, all kind of stuff. And now every time I hear like, "Hey Alex, do you have $2,500 for me?" For what? No, I have a boss monitor, or I have an R crocodile, or a puff adder, or just any type of thing. I'm like, mate, where did he get these animals? He's like, nah, I bought them. Is it on permit? Yeah. Okay, show me the permit. Quiet. Or, now the thing is with a lot of these, they didn't actually purchase these animals. No. They actually, they catch these animals. Especially on the roads at Sun City. You see a lot of these blokes just walking around there with bags. When you check there, they have like buckets filled with flapneck chameleons, sun gazers. There was this incident not too long ago with people, I think, traveling from Limpopo all the way to KZN with highly illegal, not something illegal like a brown owl snake or a parfait now, endangered sun gazers, flapneck chameleons, and then a couple of African bullfrogs. And they do that so, how can I say, so sly. Just, they take, for example, um, regular careers, not even animal pet careers. Also for the fact that apparently it's cheaper because for a normal pet career, $700-800. For a normal career, $100. And it's basically from all the way from Port Elizabeth to Komatipoort. A long distance. And so basically, and they do it so well. Like, I've not actually seen, how can I state it? I haven't actually seen people doing business this intelligent, and these people make so much money out of it. And sometimes they even tell the people, now you don't need permits for this or that. And at the end of the day, you'll have to pay a 20,000 rand fine because you kept something, which is basically legal. Well, it's not even that big of a deal. Even a brown house snake can get you in jail if you don't pay that massive fine. Just one little snake can get you into massive trouble if you can't purchase that thing on permit. And then you get some people that basically does it on a grey area. For example, they breed, not really breed, but they take reptiles, out of the wild. And, it was back in the day like this. They take animals from KZN and they sell it to other provinces, and then they're automatically on permit. Then NatCon decided, now we're going to do something else. You'll have to have proof of that animal being captive born. You'll have to have pictures of the animal's locks. You'll have to have proof of them laying either giving birth or laying the eggs. And you also have to have proof of those eggs hatching. And you'll have to have every single animal basically listed. Every single one of those babies you should have listed. And then only you can sell them. So the thing with native species, it's not illegal to keep native species, but it's illegal to keep wild caught species. And also, even if it's a native species and you don't have a permit, it's illegal. And it's not just as easy like, oh yeah, I could just go to my nature authorities and get a permit for the snake. No, that snake should already be on a permit. If you lost that permit, you can say goodbye to that snake. You always have to have that paperwork with you when you have that snake. And sometimes it's not actually that necessary. Just get a corn snake for $100, $500. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, Dylan, you with you $1,200 pair. Yeah,
They're my babies, mate. Yeah, I'll pay anything for them.
yeah, your A-mail and your snow. Look at me, I'm a corn snake keeper.
I'm a
Eucalyptus.
venomous keeper.
Eucalyptus keepers make me sick.
Imagine having no friends in a community.
Imagine having too many. Yeah, I can't raise two.
Yeah.
But alright, let's just continue. I'm just goofing
Yeah,
around.
I actually have an interesting thing to, well, not interesting. I think you bring up a good point there. With a lot of people that actually do it and stuff, and they very sly about it, like you say. They'll tell you, no, you don't need a permit for this, or like, yeah, it's captive bred or whatever. Um, you should always try and buy from reputable breeders. If you know the person, um, well, based on previous experience or recommendations by friends or so on, then don't hesitate to pay more for something, because if it's higher quality and captive bred, then you know it's going to be the best, not just for you but also for the animal itself. So I think always be careful and try and rather do that. So
It is
yeah.
so. And it
Anyways,
has, now that I actually think of it, so these wild caught keepers, now that you say, oh yeah, and also while we're just talking about, oh yeah, you don't need a permit for this and that, this has a massive impact for people such as us, basically keeping snakes that are basically exotic. Now the new keepers don't know who to trust. You can literally, for example, Dyllan, if he starts breeding corn snakes and someone already had the same experience with poachers, well, basically try to rub snakes off on them. Basically, they don't know if that snake actually needs permits or not, and they won't believe anyone. So, in the other case, it's also another downfall for us reptile keepers as well, especially for the newbies. By the end of the day, reptile keeping might be extinct because of it, if they carry on with it. People that lie so much. Typical. That's why these people are so private. But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. Especially with Kleber keepers. I feel so sad for them. They can't even keep a brown nose steak. Okay, but yeah, I'm just messing around. But yeah, you want to carry on or we're going to the next topic?
yeah, I think let's carry on to the next aspect of discussion. Horizon for, and as I have it here in my notes, let me see here. What is on the horizon and what can we expect from the next generation? So what, and as what I can gather from, you know, our pioneers who got this started, like Steve Irwin, the legend, he got this whole thing started, and I really feel privileged to be a part of this whole legacy, being part of this whole community so early in the making and stuff. I think it's really awesome that we can find something like this. There's so many cool things about this. The fact that you can bring a piece of nature into your home and stuff. The fact that this hobby teaches you so many things about how to be patient, how to um how to manage your funds properly, and how to read different animals' behavior, how to do research on animals. There's just so much that it entails. So I think that the community is growing by the looks of it, with this whole COVID thing and the economy suffering. It definitely took a knock, and you could see it take a bit of a plummet, but it's starting to rise now again, I think, and I think we can expect some really great things. And I mean, if you just think right now, 20 years ago, where we were concerning like morphs and things, because I know that that's something which really pulls people into this hobby, is the morphological appearance of animals and stuff. The fact that you can have a phenotype that looks a certain way, the people really like that. So um, to make the whole thing seem more cool and stuff, we do need morphs as well for those kinds of people to enjoy that. So I think it's really awesome that um, if we look at where we were 20 years ago versus right now, the morphs that we have available in species, and new morphs are popping up every day. It is, I think, is really cool, and as time goes by, people are discovering new things, new methods, new ways of keeping the enduring and stuff. So I think in future, reptile keeping is going to get ever more exciting as time goes by. So yeah,
It is
how about
so.
you guys? What do you think?
So basically, before the podcast started, speaking of new ways of keeping reptiles, etc., explain to the viewers real quick this one type of enclosure of this housing you told me about. That's apparently quite an expensive thing, but also new to the hobby.
Yeah, so that's something that has kind of come up recently is keeping reptiles in PVC type enclosures. PVC is basically like a high quality plastic. So then it is like pre-molded basically, and then you just slap it together to make this really bulletproof, strong enclosure that retains humidity properly and is just basically indestructible. We reptile keepers traditionally are used to keeping in like standard wooden enclosures with sliding glass doors. And it seems like, and yeah, I know in the US, people have been keeping in with PVC for quite a while now, but here in South Africa, it's only really like recently started happening. So I think it should be interesting to see where it goes. It really is expensive, but it sounds like it is worth it. So yeah, it's just another one of those things that we can look at to try and better our animals' life quality and stuff, and something to consider because these things apparently they are indestructible and they'll be as good as the day you buy them, even 20 years down the line. So yeah.
It is so. But yeah, one thing I would like to just add with what we can expect for the future generations. So basically, I'm a bit concerned about the generations going on ahead, especially for example, Alpha, Generation Alpha, and also the rest carrying on. So if I can say this, so especially as I've noticed, not only with the kids these days, there are more mentally, but also with the prices. Ball pythons will be like $50 each, $10 each. Corn snakes will be basically out of the market because they don't have any worth anymore. Basically, stuff such as your cave dwellers would probably be around $500 each, 150 Rand each. So the prices are just going down with a lot of the species. So I'm a bit concerned about that, and I don't suppose that the people actually be able to learn, not only learn, but actually appreciate these animals because of the worth. So I'm just a bit concerned about that for the future. I don't really know what's going to happen, and you want me to find out, but so far it's not looking good for the next generation, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that we will probably have to reach a point where we decide, okay, no, it doesn't become worth it to breed an animal anymore if its quality or if its value is going to be so low, even if it's still a high quality animal, if that makes sense. So a lot of people are really trying to push this whole thing, especially with new species that we're getting in and stuff, to make sure that that doesn't happen to them because it is detrimental to the species and the hobby as a whole. If you think like the guy that initially imported something, um, just the costs of importing these days, it's crazy. Your import duties can run you 2 to 3 times of what the animal is worth. So then those guys want to make something back on their investment or at least break even. And it is difficult, especially here in South Africa where our community is still kind of small and the majority of people are still stuck up on keeping just one certain species. Not really a lot of people that I know of that want to diversify their collections. So yeah, it is sad to see, but I guess it's kind of just our duty to try to make sure that it doesn't happen to such a terrible degree. So always be mindful before breeding any kind of reptile. Make sure that it is going to do the species justice by pushing more of those into the hobby. Um, just being mindful of that, I think, is going to be the best, and just educating people, other people in the hobby in general. So yeah, the main focus of breeding, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is should not always be to get money out of it. there's a lot of other things, more important things that come up before that. But yeah, I guess we could have a whole breeding discussion in another podcast episode. So yeah, you guys got anything else to add before we start wrapping it up?
Well, I for one, think that the next generation's gonna be are going to be much better and will hopefully build on the previous generation and will bring more people, educated people into the hobby, and hopefully new morphs and the market will rise because of these new morphs, because as time goes on there will be more breeding of um let's say of more morphs that combine together, and which you guys maybe in this generation won't see. And yeah, I just see good things for the next generation in the future.
Yeah, it's actually sad for the fact that for our generation, won't be able to see that because Benji, just imagine me and you just sitting there on our bench there on a farm, and then we have our little grandkids walking around. Oh yeah, did you hear of this morph and that morph? And then we're like, at your young age, we known of anery corn snakes and amels and piebald ball pythons. Also the sun-kissed and the panda pies. Back in my day, albino diamondbacks was worth 5,000 bucks, and albino kaboon was worth 500,000 rand. And scale this, just this that type of stuff. So that's gonna be sad in my opinion. I think I'm just gonna shed tears to be able to know of these new morphs and these new species and turn to what hybrids might be a popular thing. Probably not for the venomous, but for the clubrids in general, in my opinion. But yeah, well, you have anything else you'd like to recommend or state?
No, not really. I think it is definitely, we live in exciting times. I think, yeah, it is going to be sad someday knowing that we won't be able to see all the morphs and stuff. But yeah, I think it's really exciting times being able to see all of these new things, first time things pop up. I mean, to think that in our lifetime, um, first time morphs have popped up and stuff. That is really awesome to think, especially with these species which we have interest in and stuff. So yeah, but it should be, I think, fun to see what becomes popular in future. Who knows? Like you say, hybrids. Maybe people decide boas are like the next best thing in future. Maybe something else. Who knows? I think it's gonna be really interesting. So yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome. And then yeah, I think that's basically it from
All
my
right.
side. Thanks to you guys for having me on again. I think it was really, this was an interesting episode. It was fun to do something that didn't involve so much research and stuff beforehand. Last time I was suffering,
That's no
which is
worries, bud.
fine though because it was really fun and stuff. But yeah,
It is so.
it was well good fun, and I look forward to the future and more topics of discussion and so on. I think that everybody should um, just remember to be mindful and respectful, especially toward older people in the hobby that have more experience than you. Just enjoy your reptiles for what they are and see it as a privilege to be able to keep reptiles and stuff. So, yeah, that'll
It is
be
so. But
most
yeah,
of it from my side. Anything else you guys want to add?
no, thank God for everything. Oh, you done? Dylan?
Yeah, I just want to ask the viewers to please like and share the video. We love doing, well, share the podcast. We love doing these podcasts, and we would love to spread it more around and educate people on all the different topics we discuss about. And yeah, that's all from me.
All right, but yeah, to be honest, my opinion, I'm so grateful to have these blacks on the podcast, and I'll be pretty sure that we might even add even more people on the podcast. But yeah, thanks a lot, Benjamin, for being on the podcast. It's always, well, I'm always grateful to be able to have you on the podcast. You make things a lot more interesting, like the way how you elaborate everything on this podcast. It just, I admire the fact that you know so much about it, and also the fact that he works so hard on getting these podcasts to be able to be so interesting. Dylan, thank you so much for being on the podcast as well. We will be helping him out more with getting him out of his newbie stage. And also, it's always such a great honor to be able to have him also on the podcast, just to help newbies out more in the community. I'll be pretty sure me and Benji will be able to help Dylan more out, and probably a lot of other newbies out there. And also, 10-1 Dylan, as soon as he is an advanced keeper, he will be helping newbies out like that as well. He just shouldn't be me. He should just not be me. But yeah, thanks a lot for everyone for watching, and I will see you on the next podcast. Good day.